Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. The bombshell doesn't explode with a loud scream but with a quiet breath that steals the air from the room, leaving only the echo of a future that has changed forever. Tessa Porter stands alone in the soft yellow light of the after-hours kitchen in society, one hand on the marble counter, the other holding a thin white test that has just redrawn the map of her life. Two lines shine back at her like a verdict and a promise at the same time. The name that pops into her mind is Daniel Romalotti Jr. not because she wants it to be, not because she planned it or imagined it. But truth is often cruel in its simplicity. A single night meant to numb grief and confusion has now turned into something much bigger. She can still hear Daniel's laugh that night, cutting through the haze of bad choices and old regrets. They both pretended they were just seeking comfort, but really they were trying to run from the ghosts of who they were to the people they loved most. Now Tessa's heart is pounding so hard she thinks it might break her ribs as she whispers the words to herself. Pregnant, 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 trying to figure out their weight, wondering if saying them aloud will make them real. She wonders how such a big truth can fit inside her chest without breaking it. Mariah is everywhere in this moment, even though she's not in the room. Mariah's laughter in the mornings, her fierce loyalty, her scars and strength, the way she fought so hard to believe in forever. Tessa feels guilt crawling like a snake as she pictures those eyes. Eyes that have seen too much, learning this truth and having to carry it. The baby growing inside her isn't Mariah's miracle, not their shared dream reborn, but Daniel's child. It's a living, breathing reminder of a line crossed, a boundary blurred, a mistake that won't stay buried. Tessa doesn't yet know how she will tell anyone, or when or if she ever will. Even as she tries to find resolve, fear breaks it in half. Somewhere beyond the closed door, the city hums on, completely unaware that one heartbeat has now become two, and that destiny has started to move again. Mariah Copeland is already feeling confused without knowing why. That sixth sense she's come to rely on prickling under her skin as she stands in the shadows of crimson lights after it's closed. The lights dim, and the espresso machine is quiet, her phone clutched in her hand because she came back for it after locking up and overheard voices she wasn't supposed to hear. Voices that are stuck in her mind like pieces of shrapnel. Secrets often don't announce themselves with big noise but with quiet whispers, and Mariah, who's been betrayed so many times, has learned to listen for them. She stops in her tracks when she recognizes Daniel's voice coming from the back office, low and urgent, saying her name, Tessa's name, in a tone that cuts through her like a blade. She didn't mean to listen but she does because she's learned that knowing things is like armor. And what she hears next breaks something inside her that might never heal. Daniel tells Sharon of all people that he doesn't know what to do, that he's scared, that Tessa took a test and there's no way to deny it, that the timing is impossible, and that the consequences are huge. Mariah's breath stops as if the world has tilted, because the words pregnant, Tessa, and my child crash into her mind like a violent storm. Every promise, every whispered dream, every hard-earned moment of trust flashes before her eyes like a burning film reel. She wants to run into the room, to scream, to demand answers, and to see the truth unravel under the force of her anger. But instead she stays frozen, because shock can numb the body even as it shatters the soul. When Daniel adds, almost as an afterthought, that maybe it would be better if Mariah never found out, that maybe they could handle it quietly, something inside her goes cold and sharp and very clear. That sentence, handle it quietly, feels like a judgment on her heart. It tells her not just that a betrayal has happened, but that the people she trusted most are already deciding how much of the truth she deserves. As Sharon speaks about protecting everyone and minimizing pain, Mariah's lips curl into a smile that doesn't touch her eyes. Because minimizing pain has never saved her before. Secrets are the currency of control, and if they think they can control the story, they are underestimating the woman who learned to survive by always expecting the worst and acting first. By the time Mariah steps out into the night, the choice is already growing inside her, bitter and strong, because she knows herself well enough to tell when a hurt has turned into determination. As she walks, memories hit her hard, being lied to, being used, being told she wasn't worth the truth. Each memory coming one after the other, until anger starts to feel almost sacred, like a fire that could clean everything away if she lets it burn. She tells herself she's not being mean, she's being smart, and she's looking out for herself because if Tessa is pregnant with Daniel's child, then the life Mariah thought she was creating has already been taken apart without her knowing. And maybe the only power she has left is to decide how everything gets put back together, because kindness has always been used against her, and being open has always made her pay a price she had to face alone. Meanwhile, Tessa is walking back and forth in her living room, holding her phone, her thumb stopping over Mariah's name. The secret feels too heavy to carry and it's hard to breathe. She knows Mariah can sense things, and honesty has always been the base of their rebuilt relationship after all the tough times. But the words just won't come out. Fear has a grip on her throat, and she can't imagine watching love turn into hate right in front of her. When Daniel calls, his voice is shaky, saying sorry again and again, saying he'll do better, that he never meant for this to happen. Tessa's eyes well up, not just for herself, but for the baby who didn't ask to be born into this mess. She wonders if love can survive the truth, or if some truths are too sharp to handle without getting hurt. Even as she tells Daniel she needs time, that she has to tell Mariah herself, she hears his earlier words, handle it quietly, like a bell ringing in her ears. Quiet is not helpful for healing, and silence is where bad things grow. Mariah doesn't sleep that night. She spends the time planning because planning makes her feel like she has control, and control makes her feel safe. As dawn comes, she's already imagining the chessboard in her head, already deciding that if she confronts Tessa right then, all raw and shaking, Tessa will talk her into being patient, into understanding, into putting herself aside for the greater good, the way she always has. But Mariah refuses to be the one who takes the pain so others can feel comfortable. So instead she does something colder, something smarter, something that will make sure she's never again the last to know or the first to forgive. By mid-morning she makes a call to a lawyer, pretending it's just asking some hypothetical questions. It's a call to protect her future before it's gone. It's a call that draws a line in real ink, not just hope. Then, with her hands steady and her heart locked down, she sends Tessa a text asking to meet later. She adds a heart emoji that feels like both a lie and a promise. When they finally meet at the park, the same place where they once talked about names, dreams, and family, the air feels tense with things left unspoken. Tessa can feel the truth coming out of her as Mariah smiles too much and asks how Tessa's day was. And in that moment, Tessa realizes something is wrong, really wrong. It's not confusion in Mariah's eyes, it's planning. It's not hurt, it's distance. As Tessa blurts out, "There's something I need to tell you," Mariah's smile gets tighter because she already knows, because she's already made up her mind. When the words come out, "Pregnant, Daniel, I'm so sorry," Mariah doesn't cry, doesn't shout, doesn't even blink. She just nods like she's confirming something she already believed, like she's ticking off a list. That reaction scares Tessa more than any explosion could, because it means the fight is already over, because it means the battle happened somewhere else, somewhere Tessa wasn't part of. When Mariah finally speaks, her voice is calm and crushing as she says she hopes Tessa will be happy, that she deserves a family, that she won't get in the way. Tessa feels the ground under her feet disappear, because this kindness is worse than cruelty, because this distance is like a door slamming shut. The harsh decision isn't shown with shouting but through actions. Mariah acts fast and clearly, cutting her ties with Tessa in a precise way. She changes locks, cancels shared bank accounts, and fills out papers that make their separation real. Something words never could. When Tessa asks her to speak up, to yell, to hate her if she has to, but not to vanish, Mariah's eyes finally show the storm hidden beneath her calm. She admits she heard everything, that she knows about the plans to keep Tessa in the dark, and that she won't be the one waiting for little bits of honesty. In that moment, Tessa realizes the real cost of the secret, not the pregnancy, not the scandal, but how it proved Mariah's biggest fear. That love is only given on certain terms and truth can be bargained with. As Mariah walks away, leaving Tessa alone with her tears, her growing belly, and the memory of what could have been, the truth hits hard. Inside Mariah, a door has shut that might never open again. Inside Tessa, hope and regret mix into something that will change 3 lives forever. This is how things unfold in Genoa City. Not with bad guys spinning mustaches, but with love, fear, and the moment someone chooses to stay quiet instead of trusting, and power over kindness, starting a chain of events that no apology can stop. The next chapter starts not with forgiveness but with the slow, heavy consequences of a decision that won't stop talking, because cruelty doesn't usually say it's coming, and Mariah Copeland's choice, careful, planned, and cold, keeps spreading even after she leaves the park, because even though she tells herself she's keeping her heart safe, The truth is she's building walls so tall that even love, once it's let in, can't get through, and as the time goes on, she pushes away doubts by turning hurt into work, sadness into plans, and heartache into doing something, because she knows that if she stops, she'll feel everything all at once and fall apart under it. So she keeps going, she doesn't slow down, she doesn't look back when her phone keeps lighting up with Tessa's name, because looking back is how she ended up forgiving too fast before. And this time she won't let herself be the one quietly hurting while everyone else moves on from a mistake they say wasn't meant to happen. Because no amount of intention can undo what's been done, and Mariah has found out, hard and painful, that love without truth is just another kind of trap that looks like love. Tessa is falling apart right now because the silence she was afraid of has finally come. But it's not just quiet. It's rejection, sharp and strong. Mariah's pulling away is even worse than anger or blame, or any harsh words that could cut like a knife. At least a knife shows someone still cares enough to hurt. Now Tessa is alone in an apartment that already feels like it belongs to a different life. One hand is pressed against her stomach, trying to protect the baby from the emotional pain outside. She whispers apologies to a future that hasn't even started yet. The guilt isn't just in her head anymore. It's in her body, heavy and growing with every heartbeat. When she finally breaks down and calls Sharon, the words come fast. Mariah knows she's gone, she won't speak to me, I've lost her. Sharon listens with the kind of tired sympathy someone gets after seeing too many lives break apart because of secrets. She gently reminds Tessa that sometimes consequences don't give you a second chance. That love can survive betrayal or it can't, and that not knowing what's going to happen might be the worst thing of all. Daniel is feeling really overwhelmed with guilt and fear because becoming a father isn't bringing him joy, it's causing a lot of mess. Every part of him wants to fix things, say the right things, and make the right moves, like going back in time to before everything went wrong. But every choice he thinks about seems to make things even worse. Calling Mariah feels like an invasion. Pushing Tessa to forgive feels like being selfish. And stepping back feels like he's leaving her behind. He keeps moving between trying to act and staying still, until both options feel too heavy to handle. Finally, he shows up at Tessa's door, looking tired and broken, apologizing not just for that one night that changed everything, but also for being a coward after that, for even thinking that maybe Mariah shouldn't know. Tessa's anger comes out because in that moment, she realizes that while she's the one carrying the baby, the blame and judgment will fall on her. Women are always expected to put everything back together while men talk about their fears and confusion. She tells Daniel through tears and anger that this child isn't a mistake, that keeping it a secret was the real betrayal, and that she won't let their fear control the story anymore. Not for Mariah, not for the baby, and not for herself. Even as Tessa starts to speak up, Mariah is already doing the worst part of her plan. She doesn't just walk away emotionally. She completely disappears. She cancels plans, says no to invitations, and changes her routine so well that there's no chance for surprises or sudden emotional hits. When she finally tells Sharon she knows everything, she says it in a calm way that even her mom finds scary. Mariah doesn't see it as heartbreak. She sees it as clarity, and she feels that's stronger. She makes it clear she won't beg for honesty, she won't try to bargain for her value, and she won't stay in a relationship that's built on lies. When Sharon softly says people make mistakes and love can survive worse, Mariah's eyes get hard. Because survival has always been her job, and she's so tired of being praised for taking pain quietly while others get forgiven for hurting people. The news spreads fast in Genoa City, because secrets don't stay hidden for long, and people start talking when things change. When couples go missing or smiles fade suddenly, someone always notices. As people start to guess what's going on, Tessa realizes her pregnancy will soon be known, and she won't be in control of how the story unfolds. Every glance she gets will mix judgment, curiosity, pity, and blame. She's also scared that Mariah will find out from someone else again, and that fear keeps her awake. Even though Mariah is angry, Tessa can't stand the thought of hurting her again. But every time she tries to reach out, there's no answer. Messages go unread, calls go unreturned. Finally, Tessa sees that Mariah's hurt isn't loud or sudden. It's quiet and slow. It's about making her disappear, and that kind of pain is harder to deal with. The hardest decision comes when Mariah takes the step she knows will hurt the most. Not because she wants to hurt anyone, but because she feels like she has to protect herself, even if it looks final. She agrees to go on a job opportunity far away, A career move that means staying apart, making a promise and cutting ties with the life she thought she was creating. When she shares the news openly, calling it growth, independence, and a chance to focus on herself, Tessa finds out about it through someone else and feels something inside her break completely. It's not just about distance. It's about running away, about Mariah choosing a future that no longer has her in it. When Daniel hears about it too, his stomach sinks because he finally understands that this isn't just about blame or sadness or saying sorry. It's about lives changing forever, and there's no way to go back. In the calm moments between fear and determination, Mariah finally lets herself feel the sadness she's been trying to avoid. It hits her like a big wave in the middle of the night, all alone in a partly packed apartment, surrounded by boxes full of memories she's unsure whether to hold on to or throw away. She realizes that love doesn't just vanish because trust is broken, and even tough choices leave marks on the person who made them. Sitting on the floor, shaking and finally letting tears fall, she quietly admits to herself that part of her wished Tessa would try harder, break through the silence, and show that this love was worth fighting for. That realization hurts just as much as the betrayal because it shows how much she still cares, how much this decision hurts her, and how truly final it is. Tessa stands by her window, watching the city lights turn on one after another. She puts her hand on her stomach and quietly makes a promise, to be brave, to be honest, and to stop the silence that hurt her relationship. Even if Mariah never comes back, Tessa wants this child to grow up with truth, not secrets. As fear and determination mix inside her, she realizes that the next part of her life will not be about who she lost, but about who she becomes. She learns that survival isn't always about winning. It can also mean standing alone and choosing to stay. Between the departure gates and the messages that were never sent, between the packed boxes and the calls that went unanswered, between love that's still there and trust that's not, the effects of Mariah's harsh choice and Tessa's painful truth keep happening. This is leading to a big moment in Genoa City that hasn't happened yet. Because when secrets make people apart, that distance leads to anger, and anger can come back stronger, more chaotic, and much more harmful than anyone could imagine. The fallout tightens like a noose as the next chapter compresses everything into a single, suffocating stretch of time, because Mariah's cruel decision does not end with distance but with deliberate silence, a silence so absolute it rewrites reality, and Tessa feels it everywhere. In the unanswered messages, in the empty side of the bed, in the way the city suddenly feels hostile rather than familiar. As if Genoa City itself has chosen Mariah's side, and with every passing hour the pregnancy becomes less of a miracle and more of a magnifying glass exposing every crack in her life, because she is no longer just the woman who betrayed her partner but the woman carrying undeniable proof of it, while Mariah, outwardly composed, is unraveling in private, replaying the overheard confession again and again until Daniel's voice saying, "Maybe she never has to know," becomes the justification she clings to like armor, because in her mind that sentence absolves her of guilt, transforms her withdrawal into self-defense, and yet the truth gnaws at her when she least expects it, when she smells Tessa's perfume on a scarf she forgot to throw away, when she instinctively reaches for her phone before remembering there is no one left to call, because cruelty, even when chosen, leaves bruises on the soul, and Daniel, caught between them, realizes too late that by trying to control damage he detonated it, because his fear-driven instinct to manage the truth cost him not only Mariah's trust but Tessa's respect. And now every step he takes feels wrong, every apology hollow, every promise insufficient, until the weight of impending fatherhood settles in not as redemption but as reckoning, because this child will be born from a moment of weakness that exposed everyone's deepest wounds. And when Mariah finally confronts Tessa one last time, not to reconcile but to sever ties completely, her words are devastatingly calm as she explains she cannot stay and watch a life form that excludes her, cannot be asked to cheer from the sidelines of a future that was decided without her consent, and Tessa realizes then that the cruelty was not leaving but refusing to leave room for healing, because Mariah is choosing certainty over hope, pain she can control over love that might hurt her again, and as they stand facing each other, both crying in different ways, both convinced they are right, the tragedy crystallizes into something irreversible, because neither of them is the villain and neither of them is spared. And as Mariah walks away into a future she insists is freedom while Tessa clutches her stomach and whispers apologies to a child who will inherit this fractured beginning, the truth becomes undeniable. The bombshell was never just the pregnancy, it was the moment trust died quietly, without witnesses, leaving behind consequences that no amount of love may ever be able to undo.